Everybody, Andrea, just letting everyone pop in, and I'm just going to get started on some model fun. Don't want to waste any of your valuable time. Welcome, welcome, my friends. The belief model was created by my mentor, Brooke Castillo, and has been one of the most transformative tools that I've had in my life. It has been something that really helped me, as I call it, kind of plug and play the things that I need in my life. What it really did was help me, one, get some evidence of how things worked in my life and how I created in my life. And I especially think that this resonated with me so much was because in healthcare, evidence-based is very true. Science is true, but our minds are also true. How we create things is also true. That life happens to us by default unless we make a different choice is also true. And that doesn't mean that historically with DEI, gender, and other people's human rights, that all the choices that happen to us, we would choose. And so I'll just put that disclaimer out there, knowing that there are a lot of things that happen to us by default that we have to take into account for how we move forward intentionally with. So let's get started. Am I asking you to live your life model by model? No. Am I asking you to pay attention to what's happening in your life? Absolutely. Do you need to change anything today? No. Can you desire change and have it? Absolutely. Some important things to know about the model are how it works. You can only do your own. Do not use it against yourself. Those are my 3 rules. I'm going to say those again. I want you to know how it works. You can only do your own, and do not use it against yourself. So feel free to use the chat. I'm going to watch it as much as I can, and I will share my screen. So the model, there's 2 types. Unintentional, how things are happening, and unintentional, intentional, what we plan. So as you can see here, the circumstance that I have listed here, that is something that can be proven. Like here I have that I'm an associate degree nurse. You can prove that. I have the diploma. You could call the school. Then there's a thought. Now a thought is a belief, it's a sentence, it's an intention, whatever you prefer to call it, you certainly can. What it means is that it's something that is either underlying or ticker tape, and we really believe as narrative in our life. Feeling is a vibration in our body that starts here and moves down it. It moves to our shoulders, it moves to our chest, it moves to our gut, it moves to our legs. Actions, all the things we do, and the result. The result is always the direct descendant of the thought line. So hopefully this gets your juices flowing. That's how it works. There is one circumstance and one thought and one feeling and one result of every model, but the actions can be many, and they could also be inaction. So that's how the model works. You can only do your own because you only know what you're thinking. So in a circumstance line, you can put someone's words that they say, you can put another person as a circumstance, but you can't ever create a model for someone else because you don't know what they're thinking. Even if they tell you what they're thinking, that's still your model because you're still reacting to them as a person. And don't use this against you. Shit happens. I'm just going to say contrast in life happens. Absolutely. We don't use this against ourselves. We don't use this as a way to say, look, see what you were thinking. Look what happened. Look what you did. That's just not what we do. Here's how we speak to ourselves. Yeah, that might be true, my friends. And sometimes I do stuff that I don't love. And I'm not super proud of this, or I am super proud of this. Like, we do not hold this against ourselves. Let's stop my share for a moment. I'm going to just check in on the chat. I don't see any questions. Now, the thing I like about the model is that you can use it in any level of nursing, whether you are a leader, whether you're at the bedside, whether you are in a clinic, whether you are a CNO, whatever your title is, you can use it. You can use it at work and you can use it at home, and it can help you decide how you want to inform your career. And that's how I do mine. And I've had a lot of success as a nurse and still creating more. I don't feel like any day is the same. I am still creating more money, and I know there are so many more opportunities for me, and I'm learning every single day. So those are conscious thoughts that I use. And I'll tell you a thought that you can borrow that I use all the time is I make an impact. I make an impact is one of the thoughts that drives so many results for me. Because remember, the thought line informs the result line. And that's a little different than what we're used to as humans, because typically we think that our actions inform the result line. They do, but from a place of what we're thinking. All of our actions come from what we're feeling and then create a result. And the actions we take are a lot different depending on the feeling that we have. So I'm going to pull this up so you can have a visual again. Unintentional is the one we're running all the time, and intentional is one that we can create. We can't always do it immediately, but it's something that we work on and we flow with. So if we're talking about feelings, the actions that we take from feelings of overwhelm are a lot different than actions we take, say, from freedom, which I have there. So here's a circumstance that I chose this model, 2 days off in a row. I might be thinking I will be free as a bird, and I feel freedom. I feel it ahead of time. Maybe it's even anticipation. You can decide on that. And the action is I don't make lists for myself. I stay open to anything. I rest, I play. Freedom is me for those 2 days. Now, notice for me, I don't say anything about work because, one, I like working. Oftentimes I'm working when I'm at home. So it has nothing to do with work. It has to do for me with how I'm thinking about it. I will be as free as a bird. And that shows up in my result line. And you're like, wait, but doesn't the result come from your actions? Well, your actions come from feeling free or from anticipation and from your thinking. I'm just giving you a moment to think about how this really shows up in your life. I really want you to notice how lots of our thoughts feel like facts and feel very true. They're what we know as true to ourselves. And that's okay if it's creating feelings and actions that create the result that you want. So you don't have to change anything. You can just use this for awareness so that you can create intentionally. So that's my unintentional model. I know that for the most part, when I have 2 days off in a row, I'm thinking that without having to think it. the one thing I wanted to share about that is that often we have so many beliefs that are ingrained in us that we don't even think about their feasibility or how much we believe them. I'm going to stop my share for a minute so we can kind of be one-to-one. Consider how easy it is to believe that you can pour water. You don't have any problems believing that you're going to be able to pour water into a glass, right? You don't have any problems believing that you're going to know the directions to get to work. You're not going to have any problems knowing that you're going to be able to set up your coffee maker. There's a lot of beliefs that we don't have a second thought about because we just 100% believe them until maybe we get a new coffee pot or we get a different job and we have to drive a different way or we spill some water. Even if we spill water, typically we aren't like super judgy of ourselves and we lose faith that we can pour water. It just doesn't happen. And that's kind of how beliefs work in our lives. And that's for me how the model really began to quantify how I was informing my life. Okay, so here we go to an intentional model. 2 days of work. Little different circumstance. So instead of 2 days off, I have 2 days of like scheduled work, whether it be a day of coaching clients or a day of nurse communicating or bedside work. I have 2 days planned on my calendar to work. I will be free as a bird. Oh, does the same belief transfer? For me, it does. For me, it does. I will be free as a bird. Freedom. I don't make lists for myself. I let things come. I stay open to anything. I rest and play. Freedom is me and my work for those 2 days. That type of model has really served me because I've wanted to surrender. I've wanted to be more open. I've wanted to let things come, knowing that this is a generous universe. So I wonder now if you go ahead and write down circumstance, thought, feeling, action, and result. Now remember, they always stay in that order. I don't know if I mentioned that before, so pardon me on the remember. CTFAR always stays in that order. You get one circumstance, one thought, one feeling, multiple actions, as many as you can list, and one result per model. You can only do models of your own self because you never know what anyone else is actually thinking, and we don't use it against ourselves. So let me tell you, there are times in my work days where I'm not feeling free. I might be feeling something different. But overall, I know I can come back to, I can be as free as a bird. I'm going to have times where other feelings come up, but I want this to be my guide. I don't want to think that I'm not free if I'm not at work because that makes me seem like I don't have choices. And I do. I choose to work. And when I say work, I mean be on a schedule, someone's schedule, or my schedule. So I wanted to touch on some of the narratives in nursing that I think are thoughts that I think bring up a lot of feelings and actions. And one of those thoughts is we are short-staffed. Now, this will bring up a lot, I bet, because we believe that to be true, because there's never enough. What I'd like to do is say, yeah, sometimes the number of nurses we have does not equal what our goal is. The number of nurses is true. Thinking we are short-staffed is our belief. What I like to do is invite you to neutralize that a little bit, because thinking we are short-staffed creates scarcity. It does not create more staff. It does not involve creativity. We cannot create more nursing, more nurses, more staff from scarcity. So I'm inviting you to use this model for just yourself to see how you can think and feel in these moments. And then trust that things flow. The universe is abundant and generous. Nurses are abundant and generous. So in the last few minutes here, I want to think about the plug and play. So I'm going to go ahead and I want to see if any of you are brave enough to give me a circumstance or a result that you might want. I'll watch in the chat, and it's okay if you don't. You go ahead and play around with this. I know what it's like to want to not be sharing. But the next time that you come, I'm going to invite you to get real brave. So I guess I got rid of a really important part. I'll tell you, this is so interesting for me because I'm a doer, I'm an actioner, and I am a thinker. I am always in my mind. I'm always in my head. And my coach is always inviting me to get back to my heart, which is your feeling. Go from your head to your heart. Go from your mind to your body. That's where I'm always trying to take my feelings to. That's why I love freedom. I like knowing I'm free. I have a lot of freedom in my life. I'm a professional white female who's married, and I have a lot of freedom in my life. Notice my breath. It helps me drop into the feeling line. If you are a thinker, if you are a mind person, I'm always in my mind. I'm always in my thoughts. Like, yeah, I want to create intentionally. I want to be moving and grooving, and I want to be thinking. I want to be awake in my own mind. And yeah, but sometimes you gotta hop into here, into your heart, into the feeling line. So this is where you can plug and play. So let's just say that you might be having a shitty week. Like, that's an observation. That doesn't mean you feel shitty. Might mean you feel less than, you feel not enough, or you feel disappointed. And that's all okay. But just notice that when we say a thought like, sorry, blanking for a second there. Like, that made me feel sad. A lot of times that's an observation, and what we're really feeling is something a little bit different, like out of control or overwhelmed or scared. And how we know is the actions we take. Because when I'm sad, typically that makes me connect with other people more. But when I'm scared, I get snappy. Or for some people, when you're sad, it might make you withdraw more. But when you're scared, you act differently, right? Like, that's how you get to know what feelings are there. Because when you can identify the plug and play, the feeling, you start to see your actions, right? Notice how I know when I'm sad, I usually connect with other people. But when I'm scared, I get snippy and I push people away. You might be the exact opposite. When you're sad, you might withdraw and get snippy. But when you're scared, you reach out to more people. It's just getting some like fluidity with your models. Now, let's say you want to create a feeling for this week. Say you want to create a feeling of certainty. What do you have to be thinking to feel certain? What do you have to be thinking? When was the last time you felt certain? I felt certain I knew when I had to work. I felt certain I knew where to find my meds. I felt certain I knew how to make coffee. All of those are certainties. I feel certain that I'm going to go to the grocery store, get groceries, and come back home. I know that seems so elementary, but those are certainties, my friends. So you can create a model around a feeling. Or maybe you need to spend a little bit of time. Maybe you're like, I'm numb. I guarantee you, you're not. You just have to ask some questions like, what am I feeling? What am I worried about feeling? Because feelings are vibrations in our body. The more that we are aware and willing to feel all of those feelings, the more and different results we're going to get. Not always good. We get to make all the mistakes. We get to have all the fails. And if we're not, then we are just not living. Well, I certainly appreciate all of you being here. And I certainly appreciate if you didn't feel like sharing. But what I want to know is if there are any questions about how to use this. And if you want to get this form from me, if you want to get a form about the rules of it and how it works, I would love to send it to you. You go ahead and drop your email in the chat, and that also could get you on insights every week from the Culture of One, and you can get tips and strategies right into your inbox on how to just have and thrive the best life in healthcare. And you can use these models to think thoughtfully about some of the big things in our work. You know, we really do. I'll just walk this through a couple different channels quickly. One is we want to create change in healthcare. If we want to be there, we have to start here with our own model. We want DEI. We have to start with those models. How does it feel when we think about exploring our own racism? And can't see systemic change until we work on our own. We want to feel empowered as females, as a gender. We want to know our brains work the same as men. We can have all of the same possibilities, and we can allow ourselves to shine brightly. We get to add all of those into any of our models and create for what we want. And you'll start to learn what some of your best and worst. You'll get to find out what some of your most productive feelings are. I know for me, I really like discomfort. I like being challenged every day. I like a full plate of challenge. It's a little bit chewy, a little bit grisly at times. And sometimes by the end of the day, my courage is low. And so some days I have to check in because my husband's like, I don't want you to be out of courage before you get home because I want us to be able to do fun things. So I do think about spending all of my courage during a day. And then sometimes I think about how I can create even a wider bandwidth for courage. There's just so much fun here, but having this evidence-based model, which I think especially for people in science is super helpful. That's why it resonated with me and my coach so much. And I'm so grateful to Brooke Castillo for creating this tool that has helped me and I hope can help you so much in your life. So just go and use and share and have fun. Thanks for being here.